We've finally made it. Well, we haven't quite made it, but the Malacca Strait, all of Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia is pretty much behind us. How good. I wonder what the future looks like for us. I wonder how long we're gonna last. I remember before I started the trip, I remember just looking at the map and thinking like, fuck, I don't even know what I'm doing. No idea how to sail. No idea how to fix anything. No idea. The thought of living on the ocean, chasing waves and travelling with the wind was something we'd always dreamed of. Despite not having any legitimate sailing experience, Ayana and I took a leap of faith when we set off on a year-long adventure into the Indian Ocean. Our voyage on a trusty little 35-foot monohull would take us over 5,000 nautical miles. From the semi-protected waters in the Gulf of Thailand, up the infamous Malacca Strait,
I think we got that second wind that
and into the vast open ocean and the wilds of Indonesia. We were tested, challenged, and rewarded in more ways than we could have ever imagined.
seems to be still leaking.
I met Ayana in the surf in Byron Bay nearly 4 years ago, while she was on an adventure of her own, living happily on dry cereal and sleeping unhinged in the back of her little old wagon, exploring and surfing her way down the east coast of Australia. Ayana's glow, light-hearted humour and witty personality was so magnetising that after just a few days of knowing each other, I convinced her to cancel her flight home to California, sell the wagon and move into my van with me and drive across Australia. Back home in California, Ayana had spent a good chunk of her life studying and analysing the natural world, whilst the rest of her time was spent farming, writing and surfing. And for me, my name's Torrin. I'm a travelling surfer and filmmaker from Byron Bay, Australia. I'm fortunate enough to work with a small surf company who enable me to do what I love for a living. This whole new adventure sprouted from Ayana and I being drawn to each other through our love of the ocean. And for years we've shared the same dream of sailing the seas and had been working towards getting a boat of our own. The only problem was that neither of us had ever actually sailed before. So before getting too far ahead of ourselves, we picked up a little sailing dinghy to learn the very basic principles of sailing. With our growing curiosity and eagerness to learn more, our good friend Ryan took us under his wing and over the ropes on his own little boat, teaching us how to handle and what to look for in a capable cruising boat. So completely release that, bring this one all the way.
Yep.
And
then pull that back on there, yeah.
Over a few months, we made the most of any and every opportunity that presented itself to gather as much experience as possible.
Get your finger caught there, it'll go, just take the finger straight off, so really careful with it open.
Growing up, it was mostly mum and I. Then in later years, I connected with my dad. And whilst Ayana and I were searching for a boat to buy, we learnt that he had a beautiful and capable little 35-foot monohull sitting unused and up for sale in the Gulf of Thailand.
Got davits, got solar, and perfect.
Long story short, he offered us the deal of a lifetime to move his boat from Thailand to Indonesia. Before we knew it, we were on our way to Thailand with the idea that we could learn to sail as we go, take the long way round, and hopefully get some waves on the way. We arrived in the bustling metropolis of Bangkok and instantly felt like we were in another world. We met Kalipti in the relatively small city of Pattaya, just a few-hour drive from Bangkok. Kalipti is an Endurance 35, originally built and launched in Canada in 1982. With 1.5 circumnavigations under her belt, Kalipti's beautiful lines and solid full keel make her an incredibly safe and seaworthy vessel. With the help of the local family who had cared for her, we spent the first couple of weeks preparing Kalipti for the journey ahead, cleaning out mould, repairing leaks, repainting, replacing navigational instruments, and getting familiar with what would soon become our new little home on the ocean. These are epic photos of when Kalipti was built. Ayana and I would be living aboard Kalipti for the duration of the journey, while other friends would be joining us periodically to help us sail and document the highs and lows of the trip. Given our lack of sailing experience, we were going to need some help and guidance learning the ropes in the early stages of the journey. That's where George comes in. George has spent the last 2 decades living on the ocean and is a salt-of-the-earth type, a seasoned sailor and a skilled mechanic with an incredible wealth of knowledge. We were lucky enough to recruit George to join us for the first leg of our journey from Pattaya to Singapore, which was approximately 1,100 nautical miles and would take us around 2 weeks of sailing.
So I'd run parallel with that line. That's also shipping loads and back.
It had been such a build up to this point, and everything had been moving so fast. It felt monumental to be out on the ocean and on our way. We had everything we needed and so much time and space ahead of us.
First fish of the trip.
First fish. Little mahi. See how your new name is?
Amazing person.
Buckethead. It had been an action-packed week as we began to cover some ground, learning the ropes, travelling with the wind, and slowing down to adjust to our new way of being. Our average speed on Calypti was just above walking pace, and this trip was going to be a long and true test of our endurance. Just off the coast of Malaysia, our engine overheated. There was no wind and we were fighting current, so we had to tow Calypti in the dinghy for about 7 miles to the closest anchorage. George and I spent a few hours with our head in the engine trying to figure out what the problem was.
Monster.
Oh no! The monster in there.
Turns out, a chip packet had clogged the seawater intake, causing the engine to overheat. A simple and recurring problem gave us our first real lesson in the realities of boat life, and just a preview of the bigger problem of plastic pollution in the ocean. Meanwhile, Ayana had scouted the island in the tender, and by complete surprise, she discovered a perfect little left-hand point break. Look how fun that looks. First time ever sailing to surf, but it was a complete luck that there's a wave here. Whilst this whole adventure was fueled by the desire to surf and search for new waves, we weren't really expecting to be surfing until we got to the Indonesian archipelago, which still lay 6 weeks and 1,500 miles away. After these first couple of weeks on the ocean, we were quickly realising just how much there was to learn and just how little we actually knew. We were total novices to it all, and at times I felt completely foreign and out of place on the boat, almost as if I was learning to speak another language. George was teaching us everything from the basics of handling lines and trimming sails, to keeping watch, reading charts and operating instruments. We were learning how to service and maintain the engine, how to deal with a fire if there was one, and how to react and what to do if someone went overboard. George had been our lifeline, and now that I knew what we were in for, it seemed even more overwhelming to think that soon we'd be out here doing all of this on our own. After covering about 1,000 miles in the first few weeks, we stopped in Malaysia to make a few repairs and restock the boat with spare parts, clean fuel and fresh food before our last big jump to the wave-rich islands of Indonesia. It was here that George bid us farewell. George had been an absolute legend. He had taught us just about everything we knew to date and encouragingly prepared us for what lay ahead. We had a new friend Kelly joining us to help us sail and document this next exciting chapter. Kelly, being an accomplished sailor and an enthusiastic filmmaker, had reached out to Ayana and I, knowing that we were in need of some extra help and guidance for this next big part of our journey. We were nearing the infamous Malacca Strait. Long before we'd even started the trip, this part of the journey had been playing on our minds. Ahead of us lay 600 challenging miles through some of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. We'd heard countless stories and warnings about pirate activity, merciless cargo ships, and unmarked fishing boats, as well as strong currents and unpredictable weather patterns. While this leg of the trip was a notorious and daunting part of our voyage, it was also monumental, as soon we'd be crossing into the Indian Ocean and finally surfing.
I think we got that second wind.
I feel like, you don't quite realize that there was waves breaking over the bow and then across the boat and stuff.
Well, I realised.
It was so scary, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Our fears of the Malacca Strait were behind us. We'd survived some heavy squalls, dodged a few cargo ships, and the closest thing we came to any pirates were a few friendly fishermen who only wanted cold drinks and snacks in exchange for fresh fish and big smiles.
Number 338. Running out of provisions.
Wow, look at that. Oh, it looks delicious.
We raised the Indonesian flag with pure joy and a sense of accomplishment. We cleared into the country in classic Indonesian style and were one big slow step closer to surfing.
Big nose, huh?
I have the boat registration, the insurance.
Well, I don't need the insurance, just need the boat certificate. Yep. I can't believe that this part of the journey is now pretty much behind us. It's really exciting. I can't even imagine sailing up to our first surf break and anchoring and jumping in the dinghy and going and surfing. Oh, I'm so ready for it. I think it's been about 6 or 7 weeks now. It's been a full-on mission. We're nearly there. Oh, if we're greeted by a wave, oh, that'd be the best thing ever.
We're nearly there, can you believe it? There's the wave down there, see? See it? Look at his wave.
Wow. Oh my
Are you
god.
kidding me?
Saw that, right? That was a spinning tube. What do we do?
Let's drop the anchor.
After 7 long weeks of bobbing along the ocean, we were finally surfing and waking up to the sounds of the jungle with the sweet smell of burning coconut husks in the offshore winds. The sudden prospect of finding a new wave made the days not feel long enough. For the first time in a long time, it felt like there was nowhere else we needed to be.
Really nice here, you can hear the birds and everything.
It had been a month since we'd been able to restock, and all of our supplies were running low. Our diets had become very simple, So reaching these small villages was exciting, and it meant that we could refill our fridge with fresh fruit and vegetables and anything else we could get our hands on.
Hello kawan.
Hei, Bang. Ada Mas.
Ya?
Mas. Yang itu sudah?
Tidak, iya. Udah caca nih.
Sudah bisa?
Terpecah.
Rusak?
Iya.
Aduh.
Growing up, I would regularly travel to Indonesia, and I've developed a strong connection with this part of the world. This country and its people are so full of spirit and warmth. I love how resourceful the local people are and how time is on another scale here. No problem is ever too big or too small, and their light-hearted humour and big smiles are so welcoming.
Pedas. Pedas. Bisa?
Kalau pancing tradisional. Nah, besok pagi saya ambil.
Yeah?
Eh?
He's invited me out to go tomorrow.
No way.
Yeah.
We're home.
Oh, you played directly into my trap, I see. Checkmate. No! Anywhere to put there.
past month had been an incredible and pivotal part of our journey so far, and we were really stoked to have Kelly with us, as he'd been great to lean on and learn from, whilst really boosting our confidence and comfort at sea and in our little Calypti. It was time to thank Kelly for his help, and we welcomed our good friend Ryan and my best mate Ishka into our new home.
You made it! Good! Ish!
Sick. This is home.
Do you want to hold it into the wind and I'll raise it?
Yeah. As we ventured deeper into the Indian Ocean, the added elements of sailing and anchoring around shallow reefs, breaking waves, and the unpredictable tropical weather became new extremes. Ryan has spent a good chunk of his life as a liveaboard sailor and has a lot of experience of sailing to surf. Whilst both Ayana and I had learnt a lot about our boat, we still had so much to learn, so it was great to have Ryan with us.
That's 35. Should we just send this wave?
morning of perfect little dreamy tubes. And then
Could have changed the scenery, hasn't it?
delightful.
Why is boat life just so stressful?
How much wind's that?
It's about 35 knots. It's probably starting to get higher. See the mist across it?
Yeah.
That's sort of getting like almost close to yesterday. It's going again. Oh, it's getting stronger. I reckon if we get another little gap, might be worth rolling.
I think you're right. I'm just kind of dreading it.
Anchoring around shallow reefs and bays to go surfing had become a part of life, but it meant that we were always kept on our toes by the weather. My biggest fear in these kind of situations was that something on the boat would fail at the worst possible time, potentially sending us aground and ending our journey abruptly. It didn't help that we were also finding our navigational charts and maps to be inaccurate and unreliable, which only added to the pressure and stress in these kind of moments.
Yep. Seems to be still leaking.
It's got a leaky stern gland. Something can sink your boat pretty quick. It's dripping out of there and then running down it.
It's boat life.
Go off the dinghy, go off the dinghy. Shit.
It's a big one here.
Don't bring it. Look. What if it crawls onto the boat? Look at what's happening now.
Gonna be right.
Oh.
There's the head. There's a sea snake somewhere on the boat.
I mean, I doubt it would have gone back in the water.
Why not?
Pretty nice on here. What do I do with it? It's pretty...
No!
Oh no! that backfired on us, didn't it?
I can't believe they said that the snake could kill you. That's not what I expected to hear. I think you might be confident that little crocodile was.
Friendship, working together, hunters. A man, unbreakable.
Ishka and I have been on some wild adventures together. We've shared some of the most profound and memorable times of our lives in each other's company. It was epic to have Ishka here for parts of the journey to share this new chapter. It's Ishka's patience, hard-working but calm, easygoing nature, as well as his dedication to filmmaking and his family that I admire the most about him.
Head back that way.
Whilst Ishka was only visiting for short periods of time, his role on Calypti, apart from chain knocker, rice cooker, and morale booster was to help us document this trip and bring this film to life.
Little mackerel, no! Oh! It was a Spanish mackerel! No! What are we gonna eat now?
This is his birthday! How can you let this happen?
No!
It was a nice effort, but I feel like this is a terrible omen for Ishka's birthday. I'm not trying to freak you out or anything, but
Actually, you're a trooper, Ish. Happy birthday, man. Set. Set. Oh, Ish, you got this one. Yeah.
We'd had an amazing couple of weeks of waves and a real taste of it all whilst Ishka and Ryan were aboard. Ryan had been really encouraging and supportive leading into this trip, and I was really grateful to be able to share these last couple of weeks with him and have his guidance on this journey. Ryan's departure meant that for the next 8 months on Calypti, it was up to Ayana and I. We had over 2,000 miles to explore between here and our final destination of Lombok. I cherished the time that Ryan, George and Kelly had given us. Their patience, encouragement and hand down of knowledge was invaluable to us, and it gave us the confidence to continue on our path. It had been 2.5 months since we left Thailand, and the time had come that we were now completely on our own. Less than 6 months ago, we'd barely ever stepped foot on a sailboat. Now here we were, just floating, sailing alone in the Indian Ocean. We had just crossed the equator. We were in a new space where time itself seemed as if it had slowed down. Just the two of us, suspended over thousands of meters of water. There were days and sometimes weeks that it felt like we were the only people on Earth. A new sense of freedom, adventure, and vulnerability that neither of us had ever felt before. There was something so satisfying and exhilarating about a good day of sailing. Being heeled over in 20 knots of wind under a full set of sails was as good as it gets. To be sharing this whole experience with Ayana was everything I'd ever dreamed of.
Whoa, I think there's waves right around the top.
was so high. The stars had aligned and I just experienced one of the best days of my life. This was everything I'd ever dreamed of. Surfing perfect empty waves with not another soul in sight. Calypti, our home, contently bobbing away in the channel. We had everything we could ever need. I felt like the luckiest person on earth.
Yeah, you got me?
Okay, yeah. That sounds sketchy. What happened?
Got in there about 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, just before sort of that afternoon storm moves in.
Yeah.
And set the anchor. It was like, everything was sweet. I think his intentions were good, but he was like, no, follow me. And I'm like, I kind of knew, but I'm like, oh, this guy's a local. And we get in there and there's just like rocks pretty much sticking out of the water. It's like this tiny little gooseneck, and where he wants us to anchor, there's like no room at all to swing around. It's 2 meters here. Really shallow. 1.7. There's a drop right there, eh?
One of our biggest fears out here was running aground. In those first few moments between impact and diving the hull to assess the damage, I was so rattled. We were hundreds of miles from the nearest place to haul out. If the hull was seriously damaged, the boat could have sunk right there.
Look at the state of this thing.
Heavy.
Oh, that was just about to be a total disaster, I think.
There's a classic saying about boats that it's not a matter of if, but when something is going to break. And as the novice sailor and a clueless mechanic, I found this thought often clouding over me. Things were always breaking on the boat, and there was always some new problem that needed attention. Living on a boat required endless dedication and time towards maintaining, repairing, and planning. I loved this about living on a boat and found it empowering and rewarding.
It's so satisfying, those barnacles.
But it meant that we were nearly always dictated by the mood of Calypti and travelled to her schedule, often missing out on good waves and nice weather windows for sailing. Months were beginning to float by. At times, there would be long stints without phone signal and contact with the outside world. Anytime we weren't surfing, preparing food, or working on the boat, we'd spend fishing and scouring the beaches for shells and coconuts. Food from the ocean was a big part of our diets. Anything we couldn't catch ourselves, we would trade or buy from the local fishermen. Simple but essential things like diesel and clean drinking water had to be sourced and carried back to Calypti in jugs and jerry cans. At times, the local fishermen would deliver up to 400 litres of diesel in the middle of the night.
Jeez.
Rudimentary tasks that in our old lives would normally take 15 minutes would sometimes take days or more. But it was this new way of life and these small interactions with complete strangers that gave each day purpose and made this journey so much more enriching. This whole journey had come around so fast that at times I just found myself gazing out at an endless horizon trying to soak it all in. Ayana encouraged me to go home to see my grandma, leaving her alone on Calypti in a remote group of islands for 2 weeks. I left confident in Ayana's ability to handle Calypti on her own, but at home I watched the weather forecast intently and nervously as system after system moved through this little chain of islands, with regular squalls and winds up to 50 knots. Every couple of days I would get little updates from Ayana, assuring me that everything was okay and under control. My love for Ayana was deepening in a way that I had no control of. Her commitment, courage and strength through this whole personal and physical journey inspired me endlessly. Her ability to adapt, be strong and encourage me when she could clearly tell that I was in over my head only made my love for her grow stronger.
Come on, Rod, go on. Oh, look at him.
good?
It had been a consistent, dreamy run of waves and kind weather, but we knew it wasn't going to last forever. The change of seasons was upon us, and it was time to get moving towards our final destination of Lombok, which lay 1,500 miles southeast of here. The ocean has always been a special place for me, but over this journey my respect and connection to her only deepened. At night the constellations paint stories across the sky, and in the mornings the serenity of the horizon stretches beyond my imagination. The ocean's elegance and raw power are boundless. There is something so magical and also something so unnerving about being at the mercy of Mother Nature and her ever-changing moods. In a way, she has become a fickle friend, and out here I am constantly reminded of her power and of my own insignificance. We learned that we were experiencing an Indian Ocean dipole year, resulting in warmer, wetter conditions and unseasonal tropical weather systems, which meant frequent and intense storms. In times when we'd have no phone signal, talking to and studying the movements of the local fishermen became our best source of weather forecasting. The run of challenging weather continued, and we hadn't left anchor for nearly 2 weeks. No waves, living on rations in a soggy, leaky boat that was getting smaller by the day. Cabin fever was setting in.
Oh, a little bit of sunshine!
Here it comes, I can see it. Look at it. Thank you, fish. I really needed that fish. Some of my favourite moments were alone on deck at night when we'd be making a passage. The wind would fall completely still, leaving the sails gently filling and emptying themselves in the soft sway of Calypti. The surface of the ocean would turn to glass, reflecting the stars of the night, and in that moment, as the horizon disappeared, it would feel just as if we were floating through space. A total dream state one moment, and then a nightmare the next. One particular night, under full sail on an overnight passage, we had the biggest scare of our lives. It was just after midnight. I was on my way down to wake Ayana up for her watch when I routinely checked the bilge to find that we were taking on a lot of water at a rapid rate. The engine was already nearly completely swamped. It was clear the bilge pump wasn't working. I could hear water gurgling in from the bottom of the hull as each gust of wind and waves heeled us over. I woke Ayana up in a flurry trying to find where the water was coming in from. Trapped in a sinking boat, floating over hundreds of metres of water far from any land or help, shaken and exhausted in the complete darkness, we both sat there frozen, staring at each other speechless. That first minute felt like an hour. In that moment, we felt so alone and helpless. I couldn't believe I'd gotten us into this situation. There was no escape, no tap out button, and no one else to help. I felt sick to my stomach and I just wanted to wake up from a bad dream. We decided our best bet was to tack Calypti around on a complete 180-degree course and sail back to the closest landfall, which was 30 miles or 7 long hours sail if we could keep her afloat. On the new heading, we were able to control the rate of water coming into the boat, and we limped back to the nearest land.
Yes, that's it. That's it. Whew. Big win. That's a big win.
Semi-successful turnaround, I'd say. Better than being on the bottom of the ocean. The next morning we figured out that the problem was a broken return valve on the bilge pump, and we were able to fix it before setting off again. We were reminded of just what was at stake. It was crazy to think that something as simple as a small valve could have been so consequential. This only added to the growing trepidation I felt about the big open ocean crossing we had to make to get ourselves and Calypti to Lombok.
It looks like after like Thursday the storms start moving, or the storms are more up here.
The time had come to face the longest and final leg of our journey. We'd nervously been watching a few heavy systems pass below us and eventually turn into cyclones off the northwest coast of Australia, and then march their way back out into the Indian Ocean. Only weeks before us, an experienced sailor on a similar sized vessel as ours had been dismasted and lost his engine in a brutal storm that left him adrift for over a week before any help arrived. As we refueled and prepared the boat for the last leg of our voyage, I couldn't help but feel anxious and wary about the unknown territory ahead of us. They're coming now with the diesel and the water and stuff. They got heaps of it. Mo kapao kamu di sana atau di bawah? Sisa? Oh, yeah. For the next 1,400 miles, there would be many long stretches with little to no refuge if the weather turned bad or something failed on the boat. At our average speed of 4 knots, I'd calculated that it was going to take us at least 14 days of travelling 24 hours a day to reach Lombok. The moment had come to pull the anchor and leave, but I sat fearing the long journey ahead of us. Committing to this moment had been eating away at me. I wanted to embrace it, but almost sinking, a newfound oil leak, and the constant storms had left me exhausted and drained of confidence. I'd never really felt like this before. I knew deep down we could do it, and I wanted to prove it to myself, but I was scared to let go. The weather had been relentless and unpredictable, and I knew once we left, there would be no turning back. Where we are? Yeah, that's not the plan.
Where are we gonna go? Here. Here. That looks like we're getting smashed. We're gonna go here?
Hey Granny, can you hear me? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Yeah, pretty well. We've covered a bit of ground.
Oh, I was expecting you to say that you've fallen overboard.
Not yet.
Anyway, look, it's just so good to hear your voice and know that you're still safe and everything. Yeah, listen, crying. I'm nearly crying just with the relief of being able to hear a little bit. I'll say goodbye now. I think you're cutting out a bit.
Alrighty, I'll let you know when we get to the other side. Love you, Gran. I'd had myself so worked up and nervous about this last leg, but despite the rough start, we had been gifted with a beautiful run of open ocean weather. It took us 19 days of travelling around the clock to cover 1,300 miles. The constant 3-hour watch shifts melted our days and nights together. As we rounded the southeastern tip of Java and made our way across the north coast of Bali on our final stretch to Lombok, we were suddenly surrounded by boats and new life. From the sea, we could smell incense and the sweet aromas of fresh food. After so many days and nights of watching the horizon, the idea of life on land felt both familiar and strangely foreign. "7 miles to go."
That was crazy. I mean, a year of like sailing to get here, and we're here.
What a trip.
I'm gonna cry. I thought we were gonna die.
We're not there yet. We're not there yet. As we closed in on our final miles, we were struck with the emotions of our journey coming to an end. And as we approached Lombok, and the first marina we'd seen in nearly 11 months, we had the sudden realisation that we'd never actually docked a boat on our own. There it is!
Oh my god! Wait, is that it?
I don't know. Is that what a marina looks like? Saya sudah ada konfirmasi mau tinggal di sini untuk 2 minggu. Okay. Nah, he said pull up to the door. Think it's okay.
You're like, I need a little more instruction.
Like, I've never done this before. But
Actually, we need to put a line here and a line here, right? Okay, thank you so much.
We did it. We did it. After nearly 12 months and over 5,000 nautical miles, our journey on Calypte had come to an end. Travelling on the ocean required us to live and move in harmony with the world around us. The wind, the waves, and the currents had influenced every aspect of our existence, and it put a few things in perspective for me. Life is short and precious. It demands that we slow down, take things one step at a time, and move through this world with love and an open mind. Our biggest challenges always resulted in the greatest rewards. Not always immediately, but eventually. I learnt and accepted that it is okay to not always be in control. And in fact, I found it empowering and exhilarating living at the power of Mother Nature and the mercy of a boat that has a mind of its own. Throughout this journey, the ocean gave us so much, and it is impossible to come away from this without feeling compelled to respect, protect, and give back to our ocean home. This whole experience was truly a gift. I will be forever grateful for the people that imparted their knowledge to us and helped us on this journey, and for the amazing people that we met along the way. And to my love, Ayana, I know I wouldn't have had the courage and strength to continue on this journey if it wasn't for you. Thank you for sharing this dream with me.